The Creative Jungle podcast is all about speaking to and learning from inspiring entrepreneurs, creatives, and well-being experts. In each episode, we discuss their unconventional lives and journeys, what they've learned and how they've got to where they are now, any tips they can share with you so that you too may live a much more creative and happier life.
The podcast is brought to you by us, Dan and Sam. We're a couple who set up M.Y.O and Creative Jungle Company, and we are all about helping people get creative and bringing a little bit more creativity to life and business. We host over 14 different arts and crafts workshops from our central London studio, virtually offsite at events and festivals. We have a range of creative kits, and we also run creative thinking workshops. So having helped thousands of people, we think we know a thing or two about helping people get creative and perhaps being a little bit happier. We hope to see you in the studio at some point soon too.
Be sure to subscribe so you can hear about future episodes. Right, let's get started. Here's the next episode. We are so excited to have today on the podcast Abi and Roz TipperleyHill, a creative partnership and the creators of TipperleyHill. They are makers of deliciously colourful hand-painted original artwork, contemporary canvases, and personalised animal prints for your home. The style of their floral art prints is like a mashup of colours and ice cream and flowers, with their animal prints being lovingly illustrated with funny or inspiring quotes. They also run creative workshops and do much more. They can be found at TipperleyHill, TIPPERLEY Hill on Instagram and tipperleyhill.com.
Abi is based in Leicester and Roz is in London. And what's interesting is that they work together, literally together on their larger canvases. So let's find out more. Welcome, Abi and Roz.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Oh,
no worries.
Gosh, it's
Pleasure.
a pleasure.
So to kind of kick things off, we always like to talk a little bit about the backstory. And in your case, it'd be really nice to talk about working together as well. So the first question I'll throw at you, Abi, which is prior to setting up TipperleyHill together. Why do I pronounce that? What was your life like? What were you doing? And was doing something creative always the aspiration, or did you have other dreams as a child?
Well, we were both really creative. We've always both been creative, and we actually both worked together as textile designers in New York. That's where we met, and that's where we became friends. And then we both worked for textile companies doing prints and fashion prints. And then one day I was at Roz's house and I was like, I really miss working with you, because we both stopped working at this point. We both had children. And I was like, when we used to work together, we used to see each other all the time. We used to have such a good time. And then I said, I wish we could do something together. And Roz just said, I can't believe you've said that, because somebody's asked if I'll do an art market this weekend. Do you fancy, not this weekend, like in a few weeks, do you fancy putting some stuff together? And I was like, yeah, I do. So I was like, right, that's it. We're going to do it. And we did it. And it was absolutely amazing. We had such an amazing response from everybody that came. And then I just turned around to Roz and went, right, there's something in this. We have to carry on working together, and we have to carry on doing this. And that's just really sort of where it began. So we'd always worked alongside each other, but we'd never actually worked together on everything. But it was really funny, actually, because when we were in New York, one day I said to Roz, I'd done all this work, and I just went, I've got to colour it all in now. And she just went, I love colouring in. And I went, I hate colouring in. And that was it. But we never did anything about it. But now that's kind of like, it's sort of gone full circle. And that is one of the best things that we do. It's like, I love doing the drawing and she loves doing all the sort of the colour work. So it kind of, it's a match made in heaven.
A natural partnership.
I can't stand the drawing, really. I'm not a drawer. And when we were in New York, we had to kind of do lots of what they call conversational prints. So they're just like kind of patterns that tell a story. And we did lots of stuff for scrubs and things like that. But yeah, my boss asked me if I could draw a roller boot. And I was like, no, I can't. And I'd be like, you can draw. I was like, no, honestly, I cannot draw.
And I said to Roz, it's a boot with wheels on. That's what you need to do. I can't draw a boot.
That's so funny. I mean, it sounds so glamorous working in New York, making all these drawings. How long were you working there for? Both of you?
Well, I was there for a couple of years. You were there for a bit longer, weren't you, Roz?
Yeah, I was there for about 3 years. So we sort of met in 1999, wasn't it? God, we're showing our age now, aren't we? But yeah, and then finished in about 2001. But you came back a little bit before me. So.
And what was that like living in? Was it incredible?
Oh, it was like I felt like I was on holiday every day. I used to practically skip into work, and we had like kind of our bosses were quite fun, and I don't know, it just didn't feel like a job. I had to pinch myself every time and think, I cannot believe I'm getting paid to do this. This is great.
That's incredible.
And then we used to just go to, I don't know, like Macy's or whatever, and then just go and on our lunch break take out, because we get paid, we get given a check and then we cash it, we get a massive wedge of money and then go and buy a pair of designer shoes with it. It was living the dream.
That is the dream. That is the actual dream.
Yeah, Diana's a big Sex and the City fan. I think it's getting its 7th rerun at the moment, so she'd love to live.
I just imagine you doing exactly that.
And I guess this question to you, Roz, is so you met in New York working for the textile studio and came back to the UK to set the business up together. Was it the case that you decided over in New York, yeah, let's move back to the UK and set something up? Or was it, forgive the ignorance, were you back in the UK and then kind of decided to do it? And kind of second part of that is, what's that been like? Because it's been a couple of years now. Yeah. What's the journey been like?
Yeah, I mean, I think we both kind of, so Abi sort of started at a different textile studio in London, and then I think, I can't even remember, it feels like quite a long time ago now, but then I kind of had jobs at various textile studios, but we really missed each other. Yeah. And you know, when you work with a textile studio, you don't necessarily work in there all the time. So there was a lot of kind of feeling quite on your own and a bit isolated. Having used to sort of like having that studio environment where it's a lot going on and you're seeing your work going straight out from having worked on it, and then almost like not seeing it at all, because in London it's that the sort of selling textiles is quite a different scene, really. They're quite protective over where it goes. You don't get to see the case coming in and out, you know, it just kind of goes on a plane and sometimes it's sent off to another agent and then they deal with it, and then you occasionally get numbers back saying, oh, you've sold this. So I think we just really missed it, and then partly also it was sort of both of us having children as well and trying to fit that kind of into that way of the fashion cycle, and also feeling a little bit like, I don't know, it's so cyclical and feeling like, not that again. Sort of, with fashion, it sort of comes round and round, and it sometimes I think, oh God, this is like the 4th time I've done this trend. Do you know what I mean? And also feeling not having ownership necessarily of the work. So like you do the work, but it's under a different name. It's not like you're selling it as your own. And we were like, we really want to do something that is ours.
I think as well, when you do textiles, as much as I love doing the textile stuff, and I think you can definitely see it in our work still now, you're really told sort of like, you can't put that on there, you can't put red dots on there because, you know, that could translate as blood, you can't put spikes on a branch because that will make the fabric look like it's not, you don't want to touch it, and stuff like that. And there's lots of things that are in your mind that you can't do all the time, and I think that being able to just paint, it's just all of that's gone, and you just got the freedom to do exactly what you want to do and paint in the way that you want to paint.
Yeah, and that really comes across in what you make. It's like, I wonder,
free flowing.
Yeah, if you'd gone straight into this before that experience, I wonder would your art be so colourful and texture?
I don't think it would be. Yeah,
I think it would be quite, I mean, sometimes I still hear my old boss sort of ringing in my ears and certain things, and I think, oh no, right, okay, no, I can't do that. But it's definitely so much freer. Sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just going to say, what was the exact point then you both said, you know what, we've talked about doing this, we both want to explore a kind of more free-form style of creating, let's do it, let's make TipperleyHill, let's just do something together?
It probably, so when we did this, sorry Abi, when we did this art fair, I think because we had such a good reaction, and just organically we both sat at a table and we both were kind of working on illustrations, and Abby's quite good at she comes up with lots of ideas all of the time, and she's like, right, let's do this. And I really like the sort of after the sort of mark making process and the patterns, and she's a really good drafts person. So it worked out really well because she would kind of start them and lay out the group, and we're so used to kind of working in cohesive sort of collections. That kind of just felt really natural and easy. And then that's when we developed the animals. We started with the animals first, didn't we, Abi?
Yeah, and then we originally sort of said that we wanted to do everything would be an original piece. And then I did this painting of this dog, and I said, look, it's black and white, and they've got this really lovely black and white print on it. And I just said, look, so people won't see the value in that piece of work as an original piece because it's black and white. They will just want to put that on their wall. I said we should make a print of it, because if we have a print of it, then we'll be able to keep selling it. And it's ended up, that actual one has ended up being, I reckon, our top seller. It was a dog in a shirt and tie. And I'm so glad that we made that decision, so now we've got those like not quick prints, like it's for somebody who wants a piece of artwork on the wall and they don't want to spend a lot of money on it maybe, and they just want something that's fun, like a present. Then they can have all the detail and all the work that are in the print, but they can afford to have it on their wall, and they can have it personalized, so they end up with an original piece. And then the paintings that take a lot longer for people that want to invest in a piece of proper artwork. So I think it was just, we sort of came to all these decisions quite quickly this one afternoon when we were sitting at the table working. And then I think as well, we both sort of said that if we make it a business, and if we take it seriously, and if people like our work, then we can act like it's a business. So we can spend time together working on things. We can sort of like turn it into a job. And if we take ourselves seriously, other people will take us seriously. So I think we just sort of ran with it really like that.
Amazing. I mean, that's a life lesson right there, Abi, very succinctly put. Like, if you make that decision and then say, you know what, we love this, we're going to take it seriously. It's true. It's like putting your foot and making your mark in the world and saying, this is it. And people go, yeah, this is it. Oh, I really like that. That's a really good piece of advice.
Yeah, and kind of just get the vibe that you really do have fun when you're creating it, because I think a lot of people feel guilty about having fun when they're doing a job or creating something. So it's really nice to see that you that's continued on since you've done it.
Yeah.
And like, how do you find working together? I guess on the business side, particularly creative side.
We just like laugh all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's quite funny because recently we've been doing a project with this fashion company, and one of Abi's nieces came and took the photos, because we find we get so in the zone when we're working, we don't necessarily kind of get to take a lot of photos at the same time, because it's like we forget. And so she took photos, and so many of them we were just absolutely just cracking up laughing. And I don't know, it's like kind of it, obviously we're working, but we just have such a good time. It's like therapy at the same time.
Unbelievable. And how have you found it over lockdown, Abi? Because I guess, am I right in saying you'd send each other paintings? I guess that could still happen over lockdown, or how's that working?
Yeah. Well, it's quite interesting because obviously we love to work together, and then I sort of, before lockdown, before any of this was happening, I said to Roz that we've got to keep being able to produce work. So I'd draw the animals and I'd send them down I used to joke that they were going down to London to have their shirts fitted, and then they'd sort of like arrive back all dressed from Roz, and I'd be like, oh, they suddenly have like this great character about them, whatever. So we were used to sort of posting each other work, but what I really missed was when we're together, we start paintings off, and I really missed the big painting stuff. So I said to Roz, okay, right, I'm going to start some big canvases, and then I'm just going to post them to you, and you just go for it, and then go on top of them, and then post them back to me, and we'll see how they work. And they worked really well. The best, you couldn't have really done this, I don't suppose, a few years ago, because now I'll literally take a photograph and send it to Roz and say, like I did it just this morning. I said to Roz, something's wrong with this, and she's like messaging me back, yeah, top left hand side, you need to sort that flower out, it hasn't got a stem, it looks a bit weird, it's too blobby, blah 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 blah. And then I'll take a photograph, yeah, I think it's done, take it, and she's like, yeah, it's done. And then she'll do the same to me, photograph, what's wrong with this, and then I'll literally draw on top of it with my finger, on my phone, going, it needs more foliage here, it needs more this, and she's like, oh my god, you saw it. So I think that when you're working on your own, you'll paint a painting, and then you perhaps have to come back to it the next day. So you leave your studio, you come back, and then you're like, oh, I can see what's wrong with that now. Whereas when you've got somebody that's on your side and all the time and is working on the same thing with you, it's immediate. You know, I could say to Roz, what's wrong with this? And she's like, it's too blue, or it's too this, or it's too that. And I'm like, oh God, yeah, it is. And then you can sort it out. So I think that over lockdown, I think that we sort of we did more more posting of the big paintings than normal. And now I think that that's something that we will carry on. So as whereas before we didn't used to do that, I think that we will carry that on now.
Would I be right in saying that, because Dan and I kind of have this a little bit, where when you know the person very well and you trust them, you can just get cut straight to the chase. Like you can kind of, if you're working with somebody that you didn't quite know, you wouldn't go straight in, that stem looks terrible. You'd have to
honestly, if you heard the way we speak to each other, you would absolutely crack up. It's like, that looks shit. It's like literally like that. That looks shit. Don't do that. Don't mess that up. No, leave it. No, that. Or the other thing is as well, like Roz will pick something up and go, oh, I don't know. And I'm like, that looks amazing. That could be brilliant. And this week she said, oh no, I can't deal with that painting. There's something that the yellow in that's awful. And I was like, we can fix that. And I literally got my paintbrush like straight in the red and was like straight over the yellow. I mean, you would probably never dare do that to people would probably be so fearful that someone would do that to their own painting. Do you know what I mean? Somebody else would do it. But we trust each other so completely. And then Ross was looking at it, she was like, oh my God, you're right. It was the yellow. Yeah, it's gone now. And then it's, a whole new thing. So
to look at it, yeah.
Do you guys have an interest in a very particular style aside from what you make? Like, have you been, since you've been studying and a child, influenced by the same artists and kind of, I don't know, going to similar museums and stuff like that? I'm just wondering, like, is it because there's a similarity in your influences
style,
that you're so trusting of each other's opinions on the art, or is it something totally different? I'll throw that to Roz. It's a bit of a long-winded question.
I think like we both have a massive interest in colour, and that's what kind of, in a way, it's like when we start painting, that's what we really start with, and that's what's really important to us. And when we really like paintings, often it's because we connect with the colours that are in it as well, like just initially. I think we do have quite a different taste as well, don't we, Abby? I think so.
Yeah, I think we've got a different taste, but I think, yeah, you're right. We've both we're both mad about colour, and like my house is as crammed full of artwork as your house is. So I think that and we both love going to to a gallery together when we can. We love doing that, and we love kind of going to places and getting inspired by things. But yeah, I think that we both, because we're quite different in our styles, although we're kind of like funneling in the same way. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we just sort of complement each other, I think, really well. I think that's what the main thing.
No, that's really good. And I guess kind of going back a little bit more broadly, and I'll ask you this one, Abby. How do you approach your lives and manage your kind of full-time creative careers? Because I know you both have children, you're kind of very family centered, and you wanted to set up a business that kind of worked for you rather than the other way around. How has that worked?
Well, I think we're both really, really respectful of each other's kind of time. And like I'll say to Roz, I think you've spent loads of time doing like the admin. You need to make sure you've got a day of painting this week. You need to spend some time doing this and time doing that. And one of the things that we do is whenever we get a bill, we just pay it straight away. We don't ever mess around, because if you mess around, then you end up sort of like having to deal with loads of stuff later on. So it's like, as soon as it comes in, you're like, it's that whole thing, like, don't touch a piece of paper twice. It's like, deal with it straight away. We have I always call it like I called it our GCSE bullet journaling thing, which I made. It honestly looks so funny. I was like, oh, we can't take a photograph of this. It's not Instagram worthy, but it's such a simple thing that at the beginning of the month, we both just rattle off every single thing that we want to get done. We have it down the side of our thing. We both have it printed off. So Roz has her copy, I have my copy, and then we'll say, we still haven't done that. We still haven't done that. We need to make sure we've done that. And we just quickly, we just sort of tick things off. And then we try and have a set day that we both try and paint all day. And then there's like loads of admin too. The thing is, if you want if you want your painting career, if you want it to be a career, you have to market it, and the best person to market it is yourself. So you do have to do a lot of like Instagramming and taking photos and shouting about yourself and bigging yourself up as much as you can. Otherwise, nobody will see what you're doing, and it's a hobby.
Yeah.
So
you share that on the social media front. Does one of you take the lead, or is it very much you're both on the app and sharing on the?
Well,
I
we've
try
got
to.
two.
Oh,
Sorry.
Go on, Roz, you go.
Well, we've got two Insta handles. So Abi does TipperleyHill illustration, and then I do TipperleyHill, but then it crosses over as well, so we can both post to each other's. But yeah, the painting is mainly TipperleyHill, and then TipperleyHill illustration is more the animal stuff. So yeah. I mean, we all, you know, and also Abi does lots of videos. So when she's painting, she'll post to TipperleyHill on my stories, because it's lots of her painting, and vice versa if we're doing different stuff.
Yeah, no, for anybody listening, like, go on the website, do check it out. Just the illustration and the quotes they're so funny.
They're so funny, yeah.
There's one I saw.
I can't take credit for that. That's Abi. Yeah. Abi's it's just brilliant at coming up with the phrases and the things like that. Although we do get quite often when we go to fairs, we also get people suggesting phrases as well, or things that they want, and you know, and it's so it can be really nice. Oh, this would be really funny, and then it ends up being like a really great seller. So that can be really good.
And how you must have seen, I guess, Roz, if you wouldn't mind answering this one, like, you must have seen out in the wild something that you've made, and I guess that could happen quite regularly now. What is that like, or somebody comes up when you're at a market and says, I have one of your pieces, I love it, it's in my bedroom or it's in my living room. What's that feeling like?
Oh, we absolutely love it. I mean, when somebody, I don't know, tags us in on Instagram, and you just think, oh my God, I can't, you know, I remember like when we first started out, and it was, we hadn't quite, I think, done that many paintings, but we seemed to be getting some quite big like accounts that were putting our artwork next to like other quite established artists, and I was just thinking, this is amazing, you know, I can't believe, and I don't think we'll ever tire of that feeling, you know. Whenever we get on Shopify, like there's this funny sort of like old-fashioned ping that comes through whenever we make a sale, and we're always like, yeah, and you know, and I just think you can't take any of that for granted. It's like every time somebody's buying something of ours, we are just so happy, because we're doing what we love, and somebody's enabling us to carry that on, so it's just brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
And would it be fair to say, like, are you guys very much 5 days a week working solidly on doing this, or is there peaks and troughs where you might work hard for 2 weeks and then take a week or two off? How does it work from that point of view, Abi?
I think, well, I don't know. Well, put it this way, today, I gave my baby her breakfast, and I did some sort of stuff I needed to do on the laptop with sending out some order forms. And then halfway through doing that, I looked up at one of the paintings we've got on the go at the minute and decided to send a photo to Roz to tell her that the leaves weren't quite right, and I was going to change it. And then I painted that before I'd even like wiped the baby's face after she'd had her breakfast. So my kids have kind of grown up with the fact that, you know, I'm painting kind of in and out of my daily, I'm painting all day, but then I'm also doing everything else all day as well. I'm really quite, I know that lots of people can't do that, but I can dart from one thing to the other all the time. And I teach the classes on a Saturday. Roz usually does markets on a Saturday and Sunday. And then, we both kind of like, I think we both sort of like we split, I suppose, because you're in control of whatever you want to do all day long, we sort of split it up. But I know, because I see things happening, you know, I know that Roz ends up doing lots of the admin really, really late at night, because the house is quiet. So I think it's quite difficult to sort of keep shop hours, although people do say to me, oh, you ought to, you know, you've got to be careful, you've got to keep shop hours. But I think if you're enjoying what you're doing, then do it whenever you want to do it. But if it ever becomes sort of a tiresome, then I think that both of us will sort of say, you know, I need to take a break from that. Yeah, I'm quite respectful of that. So
I think we're both like really lucky that we can be really honest with each other, and we're always feeling like the other person is doing so much. Like I I don't know. I just always think, oh my God, Abi, you're just amazing. Like, you know, like yesterday, she somehow managed to pick up the 2 canvases we were going to be painting on the night before I was coming up. She'd like, you know, primed them, drafted out the flowers, like done all that, and then, you know, and I come up the next day and then we've both finished them off together. But she's just like, I mean, she calls it stealth painting as well. It's quite funny because she'll have paintings around and then just like every now and then she'll be like, oh, quick, let's put a few leaves on there.
Yeah. Feed the baby and do a quick leaf. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think as well, we both work like when we work, we properly work. There's no messing around, there's no dithering, there's like we get on with the job and we do it. But I don't think we couldn't work like that all the time, because we just wouldn't be able to, you wouldn't be able to do that. So I think if we were in a studio, like if we went to a studio 9 till 5 every day, I wonder actually how much work we'd manage to do. I think there'd be lots more sort of sitting around having cups of tea and cake, whereas
I think when we're together we really make it count, because of like the terrible year that it has been, it's like we're so excited to see each other because we weren't able to see each other for such a long time. And Leicester particularly, obviously London had like phases where it was terrible, and then it felt like Leicester was never going to get out of it. It was just like you were in lockdown for pretty much the entire year, weren't you?
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah.
And so so when we can be together, it's like Abby's like totally like everything's ready on the table, the paints are all right, ready to be mixed. It's like there's barely time to have a cup of tea before we're like straight in there, just paintbrushes in hand and getting on and doing it, which is great.
That's really great. I love how you've just been so harmonious as well. I don't know, it seems like a very harmonious partnership, and I really hear what you're saying, Abi, about just going with your flow of working. What might, you know, a 9 to 5 structure might work for some people, that's absolutely fine, but actually for you, if it's dipping in and out, you know, 10 minutes, half an hour here and there, that's absolutely it. And the key thing is you just have to enjoy that pattern, because as soon as you're not enjoying it, then you change it up.
Yeah, like, has it always been like that? Because I know you've been doing it for a while now. Was there times at the start where you weren't quite in sync and you had to like have a deep chat almost and get back in sync again, or has it just been free flowing ever since you started?
I think it's always been pretty free flowing. I think it's been pretty free flowing. And then I remember once though, Roz said there was like a patch right at the very beginning that we didn't work. We didn't work as much, and I was working at, my family had like a full-time, my family had a business, a florist business, and I was working part-time then, which I really enjoyed, and I learned so much working there and working with the public, whatever. And I remember Ross saying to me once, we didn't do much work then, did we, about that time? And I said, yeah, you were moving house. And she was like, oh yeah, that's why. And I was like, yeah, that's why we didn't do anything then. So I think that we've both been really, I don't know, like we do have really busy times, like especially Christmas time, you know, when we seem to have all the shops kind of want us to write more prints and get more stock out and things like that. We do have patches when we are really busy, but it does seem to flow nicely. And I think at the end of the day, we're so honest with each other. And I think that I always say this, like, you know, and if you've ever worked with somebody and then they've been a bit funny with you, and then you can't quite work it out, and then you realise it's something stupid, like they're the only one that puts the bin out, and then you're like, well, if you told me you wanted me to put the bin out, I would have put the bin out, and then we would have saved all of this like nonsense. And I think that we've both been in places where that sort of stuff's happened, so it just never happens. It's like, I don't want to do any more emailing today. Okay, well, I'll do it then, and that's it. Nobody's ever crossed about anything. It's just that if it needs to be said, just say it, and it's sorted.
Very really good, very powerful. Abi, you mentioned about teaching classes. How do you find that? How have you found running workshops? I know obviously now they're online, but have you found running workshops, and why do you think it's important to share this skill and the joy of what you guys do with others and encourage them to
do it? Yeah, I absolutely love it. I really love it. And the one thing that I've heard most people say is, oh, I used to do art at school and I used to really enjoy it, but now I haven't picked up a paintbrush for ages, or I used to really like it, but my art teacher said I couldn't do it, or this, that and the other. And the one thing that I always say is, nobody said you had to be good at it. You just have to do it. So if you've enjoyed doing it, then brilliant, you've had a great time. And I think that sometimes for me, it's the process of saying to somebody, you know, you pray. So I'll do how I teach, because I'm having to teach online, is I imagine that they haven't got a screen. So although they have got a screen, they're watching it, I sort of try and teach them as if I'm trying to tell them down telephone. So I'll say, like, put your paintbrush on, press and off, down, press and off. And this sort of like repetitive, gentle sort of tutoring. And then people at the end of it are just like, oh my God, that was amazing. It was so relaxing. I really enjoyed doing that. And some people have said to me that they've just listened to it and they've not actually been painting anything. They're like, oh, I listened to them first. They're so relaxing. And then later on, I get my paints out and I paint them. But it's one of those things that when you're a kid and you've done a drawing and you pass it to your mum or your dad or your carer or whoever, they go, oh, wow, that's great. Brilliant. That's really great. And you're thinking, yeah, it's great. Really, the parents probably looking at it thinking, right, I'm going to have to put that in the recycling in a minute. And but somewhere along the line, that gets lost. Yeah. So you used to be brilliant at it, and then all of a sudden, like, you're not brilliant at it anymore. And then the person over there, they're drawing a picture of this famous person in pencil, and oh my God, it looks just like them. Oh, what I'm doing is not very good. And then you sort of lose confidence, and then it all goes, and then, you know, that's it, it's gone. And people don't bother to pick up a paintbrush again. And it's really, really sad. Whereas I was never the best at school. I was actually really bad at school, but that's a different story. But I was never the best person doing art, but I loved it and I didn't care. I just wanted to carry on, and I just thought, if I can draw, as long as I can draw, and I've drawn every single day of my life, and I've never stopped drawing. And I think that it's that feeling of just you can do it. You know what I mean? Everyone can do it. Yeah. And it's because we don't have to do it. That's why people don't do it. It's like, you know, but I don't know. I don't know. I just love it. And the feedback I've got from most people is basically saying, thanks for letting me enjoy painting again. So that's what's been the best thing.
Yeah, like we've obviously hosted lots of people in the studio as well, and just it never gets old, especially people that come in quite tepid and a bit worried,
nervous.
I kind of go, I haven't done this since I was a child, or my teacher said I was bad, and then half an hour into a session they're just loosening up and start to smile, and then by the end they're kind of beaming, leaving.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really getting so much from it.
Yeah.
I just can't believe there are teachers out there that will tell a child, you're no good at this. Yeah. So it's like, oh my God, surely that is just something that you should be just chucked out of teaching. Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's so limiting. And I just completely agreeing with everything you just said. You know, when you're a kid, you sit, there's a pencil and paper, you just start drawing. Nobody has to tell you. You don't need any encouragement. You draw on the walls, on the floor, anything. And then somewhere along the way you stop, and then you create these, I'm not a creative person, I'm more mathsy, oh no, I can't, and it's a real shame, because just as you said, Abby, you can do it, and if you love it, you should do it.
I think one of the things I tried with doing during the very first lockdown is I did a set of classes free on my Instagram. It's still there if anybody wants to go and try them, using things that are around the house. So I did a stick in some like really strong coffee on some photocopy paper, and just did some paintings like that, just so that people could get creative with really nothing. I did another one, I think, with food colouring and cotton wool or something like that, but just something that you could just go, oh okay, yeah, I can find something around my house, do it. And then that started to get people to think, oh actually, do you know what, that was really nice. And then people started to think, oh actually, I'm going to treat myself to some paint, so I'm going to treat myself to some nice paintbrushes, and then I'm going to carry on. And that's sort of like, it's kind of grown from there for a lot of people. It's been really lovely.
I really like that. Moving on to, we've actually touched on a little bit about doing it and feeling good and loving it, and I think that's obviously our bread and butter. That's why we set up M.Y.O and Creative Jungle, is because we didn't do it, and then we just discovered actually just dabbling and playing, you feel so nice, so relaxed, so mindful, so sometimes even confident about what you've done, which I think is incredible. But yeah, why do you think creativity has that power? Why do you think it's it plays a good part in being happy, especially given that's what you do day in and day out.
I think it's something that is Abi says sometimes like drawing is like yoga for the brain. And I think there is that there's something about being lost in something that is not intellectual or kind of in a sort of academic way. You're using your brain in a different way. It's like an intuitive way, a way that you can't necessarily work out why you're doing what, but it's really I think it's really therapeutic, and it's when almost like something else takes over. It's not it's not logic, it's not reason, it's something different, and that's really freeing. And I think I think especially like last year, I think people are really connecting with that, finding that we really, really do need that. And I do think schools are sort of squeezing it out a little bit. There's just now they're sort of saying a lot of, we need the kids to catch up with math, science and English. And you think, well, what about art? Art is what they need to be catching up on.
Yeah, absolutely. How can you form loads of creative industries and be we are known as a creative nation, but that needs to start at the very beginning and continue all the way through. Yeah.
Because I think if you have a big business meeting or you have a presentation to do, or there's so many life scenarios where if you've just finished painting and you've done it for an hour and a half, you will perform better because you'll be more relaxed. Your brain will be fired up. You'll come up with better ideas. You'll be able to think better on the spot. There's so many good reasons to do it. So for anybody listening, do check out TipperleyHill
and the workshop videos that you have on. Yeah.
So
so our workshops, the workshops that we've already done, so we've now sort of moved on to sort of like having ticketed, sort of like you buy a ticket to kind of go to the workshop, do the workshops live on Zoom at the weekends. We now have got all of those recorded, so people can go back to those recordings and do them as catch-ups. So there's those there, and if anybody wants to just try out a few and see what sort of things we've been up to, there's quite a few free ones on our Instagram page as well. So
nice.
Absolutely.
Something for everybody.
Yeah.
So kind of like the theme for the podcast is kind of around creativity and happiness. And we've touched a lot on creativity, and I suspect it'll flow into the next question.
Yeah.
But Abi, to start off with, is there any kind of daily or weekly rituals you have to just, settle your mood or to put you in a more positive mindset, aside from painting to begin with, or drawing? Because I gather you
I've got my mum is, so she's so inspiring to me. She's such an amazing person. She can have at the end of the day, she just goes, what a lovely day we've had today. And you would have the kids would have been around and been playing, or she would have had, she made a nice dinner, made some nice food or something like that. The simplest of things, she always says, I've really enjoyed today. We've had a really lovely day. We've done blah, blah, blah. So I always try and take that. So in the evening, I think not about what I've not done. I think what I have done. So I go, really pleased with myself today. I managed to get blah, 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 blah done. I really enjoyed whatever it is I've been up to, singing those, if it's something silly, it's like singing those songs and doing those things, whatever. And I've got a dog as well. So she gets walked every day, and that's brilliant, just to kind of walk out and get some fresh air every day. So yeah, they're really simple things. But I think that if you are struggling with anything, I think the best thing you can do is get outside and have a bit of a walk for the starters, and just try not to think about what you've not done and try and think about what you have done.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of changes your mindset, because I think, and also as well, doing every Monday morning, I call it a brain dump, where I just write everything down on a piece of paper that's on my mind that I've got to do. Now, I also put on that, empty the dishwasher, do some really simple jobs as well, because they're going to have to be done, so they're going to get a tick. So at the end of the day, you can tick those things off, and if you write everything down, you get to tick everything. So so that's like a little sneaky trick I play on myself to sort of make myself feel like I've been a bit more productive by putting the boring.
Do you put things on it after you've done them? Is that
I don't do that. I can't know. I think I have probably done that before. It was just something I'm just about to do, like eat breakfast. aha, I did it.
I love that. And I just read yesterday that I think over 3 million dogs have been bought in the UK over lockdown.
Oh God, yeah.
The
I've
dog
had mine longer
is
than
a huge
that, but
thing.
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, she's yeah. There's nothing. Yeah, she's lovely. She's a good dog, and it's great to be able to take her out. And my little girl absolutely adores her. My boys do as well, but yeah, she sort of drags her around, and she tries to get her dressed and stuff like that. And she sort of deals with it all. But yeah, I think that there are a couple of things that I do. What about you, Roz? What do you do?
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I definitely think that getting outside, like before lockdown, if ever I was feeling a bit low, I do find that just to recharge my batteries, if I kind of go, right, okay, like just stop, do like a bit of yoga, or maybe go to an art gallery, and then you come back and it's like life, it's like starting with a blank slate again. And then you sort of think, because you can get yourself into a panic and go, I haven't got time for that. I haven't got time, but then you're not being productive. You're not actually doing any good, because the work that you're doing, you're tired, you need a bit of a refresh. But I also have, I don't know, I just love listening to podcasts and books. And there's one book that's, I don't know, I love a bit of a self-help book. And one of my favorites is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Oh my gosh.
You like
Yes.
that book? That's my absolute favorite. So if ever I feel at a bit of a low ebb, and I've probably listened to it like 7 times now, I just put that on again, and it makes me chuckle. And I just think, right, I've just got because she's got some really funny like little phrases, and get in the flow, yo, and like kind of all this sort of stuff. And I just think, yeah, right, get in the flow, yo.
Yeah, I love that book so much. You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. It's really upbeat, isn't it? And it just completely lifts your mood. Yeah.
And it's not cheesy. Like sometimes you think, oh, self-help's cheesy and whatever, but it's just, she's just really funny with it, and she swears a lot, and I really like it.
Yeah, that's really, really good ritual, having a go-to thing to listen to boost your mood. Where do you both get your inspiration from? I know you've obviously, the themes of a lot of what you paint are floral, loads of color, and Abi, you mentioned about working in a family florist, and I can maybe see that coming through. But yeah, where do you both get your inspiration from? I'll start with you, Roz.
Well, I mean, we kind of have sort of favorite painters and people that I kind of always go back to, and whenever I've gone to like exhibitions, I always buy lots of postcards. It's a bit of a running joke because I've got like about 2 shoe boxes full of different artist postcards, but I can't not buy them when I go to an exhibition. And sometimes, I don't know, I think just having that reference all around me, I've got lots of pictures, and I just think you kind of subliminally draw things in without even knowing. But if ever I need something, then I'll refer back to, I've got quite a lot of art books and stuff. And I think our training as designers has also trained us to be quite magpie-like in how we kind of look for inspiration. And we used to kind of like have to kind of work to sort of mood boards and things like that, and we still think like that, even though we don't necessarily always create a mood board. We kind of we collect lots of different images off Pinterest and to prompt different groups. And sometimes if I say to Abi, can you start this group, I'll kind of put together like a rough color palette and then a few images, or like some things that I've thought of at home that have triggered something, and then we kind of work from there.
Nice. And what's your favorite color? I might as well ask.
Well, it sounds ridiculous. I think it's either pink or blue. Colours. I can't really say like between the two. Like as far as wearing it, I probably, if I could like live my life without if I had to choose one colour, it would probably be blue. I'd have to have blue, but I love pink as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. What about you, Abi? So Roz has mentioned, you've mentioned a lot of art galleries, and collecting postcards is just one of the things you do. What about you, Abi?
Well, I take photos all the time. I mean, just today I was just going out for a walk this morning, and there's a wisteria that's just started to bloom down the road, and I like taking that. And people on my street must just see me there. Here she is again with the dog and the taking pictures. And I'm leaning over gardens going, wow, look at the colour of that tulip. Wow, look at the colour of that. And I've got so many photos on my phone of I went for a walk the other day, and there was just this gorgeous blossom against the blue sky, and it just looked absolutely amazing. And so and then I try and keep those kind of photos into sort of like files, so that I've got something to you know, when I think back, I can go, oh yeah, I remember seeing something the other day that was like that. Same with like if I ever see a really amazing sky or a sunset. I mean, I'm not going to win any prizes with these photos, but they're there to sort of, you know, to inspire us to kind of for those, you know, future pieces of work. And then I don't know what happens, like something people obviously pick up on the same thing, but with like the animals, I'll sort of say to Roz, I think we should do a sloth, and then you'll start to see lots of sloths around. It's like, you know, there was like a bit of a pug phase, and I said to Roz, this is ages and ages ago, I think we should do a pug, and we did a pug, and it became like really popular, and then we've just done a dachshund, and that's become really, you know, really popular. And I think something happens around that you sort of pick up on these little things, or you see, oh, there's tons of cockapoos around, or there's this or that. So that sort of thing, that, again, I guess you're just used to picking up on trends. So that sort of thing. And then with phrases, I'll listen to the radio and podcasts and listen to books, and then there'll be a phrase, and then I'll stop and think, well, that was really good, and then sort of jot it down. But by the time I've sort of jotted it down, it's kind of changed a bit, and it's not quite probably what the original phrase or something that somebody said was. And yeah, and I think you just sort of like Roz said, you just become a bit of a magpie. And then I've quite often said to Roz, we were doing these landscapes, and we've got some coming up that we're sort of working on at the minute, and I said, I feel like we need to do something that's got more sort of like stuff at the bottom, more trees and more, you know, I really liked it. We sort of touched on it before, we didn't really go with it. And she's like, oh, I can't believe it, I've just seen this amazing painting in this gallery, and it had all these amazing trees in it, and then I've just found this amazing photo and this piece of fabric, and have you seen this piece of embroidery? And before you know it, we're all like, oh yeah. And then it's all kind of come together. And I think that, and then when you look back at what probably started you off to what you've actually got, is nothing like it. But I suppose it's just the journey that you've kind of gone on to get there.
Yeah, the spark, and then taking that somewhere. Yeah, I really love that.
Especially with the landscapes as well. When we do the landscapes, people will say, a lady came over we were at a show once, and she was like, oh my gosh, this is just like the view from my cottage, you know, looking across the moor. You know, she lived in Scotland, and she was like, oh, have you been to, you know, is it Scotland? And I was like, oh no, but she saw that in it, you know what I mean? So then that for her is it. That is it.
Wow.
It's, you know, it's heather across the Highlands or whatever. But then for somebody else, they might say, oh, you know, that just reminds me of when I used to go through this walk through the wood, and there used to be these bluebells all over the place, because they're so sort of like abstracted, and you get to see what you want to see in it. And I think that, and I think that when, you know, I'll work on it, then Roz will work on it, so they kind of become almost like fantasy landscapes almost, that emerge of something that somewhere that you've been, and something that you've seen, and so I think that we just sort of collect it all in a big mixing pot, and it kind of pops out.
Putting it out in colour. That is absolute magic. Gosh, I'm like, I want to come and see all your paintings in person to just get that wave of.
Oh, you should.
I really want to.
We used to do kind of little art sales in my house.
Oh,
so
really?
once we're allowed to do that again, you'll have to come. You'll be guests of honour. We'll get the Secco out for you.
Oh my God, I would love that. I absolutely love that. Oh, well,
okay, kind of going on to a little bit more serious again, kind of going back to the business side of things. Like, how have you gone about growing the business? As in, is it very much you just collaborate on things and you're like, if people like this, great. If they don't like it, that's fine. Or have you been kind of very much, here's a 6-month plan, here's what we're working towards, we need to be in 5 markets this month and do X, Y, and Z? Or has it just been quite
organic,
fluid? I don't know, Roz, if you want to go through that, because I know you do more of the markets.
I think it's probably been quite organic. I mean, because everything was cancelled last year, I just, as soon as things started opening up, we were just like kind of messaging each other about what was going on and like, shall we do that? Yes. It was almost like just say yes to everything. So, you know, as far as the markets, because I don't know, you know, last year I had a whole, like almost like a whole year of weekends where they were pretty much booked out and then they were all cancelled. So I think if last year's taught us anything, it's just basically just take every opportunity you can. So but it's kind of, I would say our process is quite organic. I mean, we did start a big process of working out some more shops that we were going to contact to kind of get our cards and prints into, but then we realized that it would not be in good taste to, you know, at the moment to start sort of going, oh, would you like to see our prints yet, because the shops have barely just opened, you know, let them get back on their feet again, and then we'll start that process a bit more. So
I think one thing that we did say, one thing that I was really like mad about right at the very beginning, I said, right, we'll we did the work, we sold it, then we took that money and then we did some more and we printed it, and then we took that money and we did some more, and we both sort of said that we absolutely will not borrow any money to pay for anything, because I personally wanted to always know that, this is going to sound, I didn't want to owe anybody anything. I didn't want anyone to be saying like, well, I owe half your business or this, that and the other. And I wanted it to all come from us. And we slowly, bit by bit by bit, said, right, we can afford to do that fair now. So we did it, made some money. Now we can afford to do that, and got bigger, slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger. And by doing it that way, I feel that we kind of sort of gently expanded and kept control of the kind of work that we were doing and the way we wanted it to go. Because I think if we'd have sort of like, if someone had said to us, okay, here's X amount of money, you can have as many prints as you want printed, you can go anywhere you want with them, then we would have been a bit like, oh God, you know, we started off with 4 animals, and then somebody said, have you got a, I don't know, whatever it was, fox? Yes. And then we did a fox. Oh, have you got a dog? Yeah. And then we did some more dogs. Have you got some more cats? Yeah. So it kind of grew very naturally like that. And I think, but we still now will say how much money we want to make at the end of the month. So we'll say, okay, right, we really want to pay ourselves at the end of this month, right, we need to push ourselves more to doing more Instagram posts, we need to push ourselves more into go, and it's so, it feels almost like bad taste to say that, but I want to build a studio in the garden, so I've got to make some money. So and we're not doing this, and it's like, I don't know, I think as a woman as well, it's sort of almost seen as a bit like you're not allowed to kind of say that you want to have a business that makes money and be good at it. And I think that's really tricky as well. And I think that we've just tried to stay quite honest and true to ourselves, and we want this to work, and we want this to be a business, and like I said before, we take it seriously. So that's how we've sort of tried to do it.
I think as artists, I think we should all be quite responsible in saying that we want to do it for the money as well. It's not just that we only want to do it for the money, but I just think that how will other people take us seriously? I mean, sometimes when we go to markets, people will ask for big discounts and things like that. And I do think, well, you wouldn't do that in another profession. You wouldn't go to the dentist and say, oh, you know, can I have a discount off my tooth? So, you know, I just think that in a way, we don't do ourselves any favors as artists if we kind of we belittle ourselves by charging next to nothing for something that we spent a lot of time in. And it's not just the time it takes to do the piece, it's the training it takes. You know, like we pay, you know, people that have, you know, learned how to do something like architects or whatever, a certain amount of money because they've studied for a long time. We've also studied for a long time and refined our craft. So I think, you know, we shouldn't feel bad about that.
No, absolutely. Not at all. Like pricing is, I think it's a struggle for most creative professionals, like totaling up how much time you spend. I think
pricing is difficult for anyone in general.
But your paintings they're not cheap, like they're affordable, but it's £400, £500, £600 plus potentially. Like, was there a period where, and the reason I say this is we kind of have that a little bit with stuff we do, you just push the price up a little bit and you know, oh God, they paid that's great, okay, was that kind of what happened for you both? Were you like, we're going to charge?
I think so, yeah. I'll tell you something that happened to me once. So I saw this artist on Instagram, and I'm talking like ages ago now. And I wanted to buy a piece of her work for a friend of mine. And so I went onto her website, and it was £8. And I just thought, oh, I don't want it.
Yeah.
Really?
And it was weird because I liked the image and I wanted to buy it as a present, but it was £8. And I thought, oh, now had it have been, I don't know, it was a print. Had it have been £30, I would have gone, oh, good, yeah, okay, I'm gonna get. Or it'd been £50, I would have been like, yeah, okay, that's a print, or maybe even a bit more. But something about the fact that it was 8, I just thought, oh, it's not even a tenner. It can't be worth anything. Do you know what I mean? But I think you have to price things so that someone values it.
Yeah.
And there's I listened to this thing, it was quite funny the other day, and it was Ryland Clark, you know the guy, you know Ryland, and he had earned some money and he went to Louis Vuitton to buy a suitcase, and they said to him, so after he'd earned some money, that was the one thing he got in his head, he wanted to buy this suitcase, and he got there and they said to him, oh, we've spoken to our manager and you can have it for free, and he went, I don't want it for free, I've worked hard, I want to buy it.
Yeah.
I want to buy it, and it loses value. And I think that you have to, you know, we've put all our time and effort, and you know, our time is valuable, and our creative is valuable. But the person who buys it, they want to value it.
Yeah.
They want to feel like they've earned their money and they've buying themselves something that they love and that they can have in their house and that they cherish. And so I think you've got to sort of price things like that people want them.
I completely agree. There's that thing of you don't value something that's given to you for free, I really like that. I feel like you've earned it, but it's both sides, isn't it? It's both. You feel like you've earned the money because you've put in all this passion, you've had this vision, you've created this artwork, and they feel like they've earned it because they've, you know, racked up their savings and they've mustered that will to go, yes, I'm going to do it. This is the one I want, and I'll spend that £600-700 and I'll look at it every day and go, wow, isn't it amazing?
Like it's £1 a day for the next 20 years for a piece of art that'll make you happy. Like, it's not very much. Like if you have it at the bottom of your stairs or in your bedroom and you see it when you wake up, like it's not that much when you
put it
total it up.
Absolutely.
So for any artists that are listening, do try to charge more and like have value around what you produce, because people appreciate the value as well.
And it makes people take you seriously as well.
So kind of coming towards the end a little bit, the last kind of 2 questions are, one is, what does long-term success, and I kind of say that in inverted commas because success means different things to different people. So like, what does that look like for you both? And we might just say the website and everything again, or if you have any events coming up, feel free to share them for people listening.
Success. I think just, seeing our work in more people's homes. I mean, we'd love to be in more galleries as well. You know, there's a couple of places that we've got our work in, but we want kind of more of that. And then I think also just painting more together, because that seems to be the thing that people love most about seeing us. And I think that when we did this wall in a florist near Abi, and we had such a great day, and it was such a good way to kind of create video content for our social and all that kind of stuff. So I think to do more of that, I mean, obviously to, you know, be earning a decent amount is fine, you know, but we love what we do and we can't believe we get paid for it, but we'll take that money.
Amazing.
And I think more classes. Abby's brilliant at teaching the classes, and I'd like to have the confidence to kind of do a bit more of that. So I think there's certain things that I kind of I don't know, I'm trying. Like Abby's like always said never say no to stuff, and I really love that attitude, and I think I've kind of been brought up very much like, oh, why do you want to do that, and you know, very cautious, and I'm not so much of a risk taker. And I think what's great about Abi is she's like, come on, we could do that. And then I think sometimes, you know, there's been certain things where, you know, I would have probably said no straight away. And I know that Abi would have said yes. And now I'm like, no, we're going to do that. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, what would Abi do? Kind of, okay.
Yeah, totally.
That's how I've had most of my fun and most of my bad times, by just going, yeah, I'll do that, and then going, oh, that was not such a good idea. No, I always think as well, like if somebody offers you an opportunity and if you don't take it, then you're exactly where you are now. Whereas if you do take it and you didn't like it, you can come back to where you are now, but you've just had that little experience. Yeah. So sometimes I think that we can stand in the way of ourselves. And also as well, I've grown up and I've seen so many people that I look at and think they're not that talented, but they've just got a big gob. And they'll just kind of like, and they're the people that can't, and you're thinking, how are you doing that? And it's because they've shouted about themselves and they've, decided that they're going to do it regardless of whether, and then you get these people that are incredibly talented with the most beautiful, I mean, I go to some shows and I see the most beautiful, and they're so shy, so timid, and they like almost like apologetic for how they are, and I just think it's a real shame.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for people listening, it's at TipperleyHill. And the illustration account, is there an underscore on that, or is it just all one long word, TipperleyHill illustration?
Yeah, it's at TipperleyHill _ illustration.
Cool. And then TipperleyHill.com
to check out all their beautiful artwork and get some prints. And we were just talking about joining in the watercolor workshops that you put on Saturday. So we'll also do that. Thank you.
Yay!
I might just listen, Abi.
Just get into a meditative state. Make
yourself a mug of cocoa and just listen to Abi's voice.
Yeah.
You can hear the weird way I explain things. That's what most people have sort of said. I sort of like lose myself, and I kind of go, you just kind of got to do like a little jaggedy edge there, and a little leapfrog over here, and a little dib dab over here. And it's like, by the end of it, I'm thinking, what am I talking about? But everyone gets to the same point at the end.
Oh, nice, cool. But yeah, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, it's been brilliant.
Yeah, look forward to seeing the continued creations.
Oh, thanks for having us. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that episode. We really hope you enjoyed it and would love to hear what you learned. If you haven't yet, be sure to click that subscribe button and get first dibs on all future episodes.
Also, be sure to check out the previous ones because there's some fantastic nuggets and amazing guests there too. We do this podcast for free in the hope that you can benefit from it. So any support you can give us would be incredible. Please tell your friends, tell your neighbors, your parents, your cats and dogs about it. We would love to really grow this podcast even better. Please leave us a review. We love reading them.
And if you'd like to explore that creative side of yours, be sure to check out at M.Y.O London or at Creative Jungle Co on Instagram and get in touch.
Here's to a much more creative and happier life.
You got this, you creative legend.